Hello, hello. Oh, and it's scuffed. What is going on with my green screen, guys? My green screen's being all kinds of crazy as of late. Let me try moving a light real quick and turning the music down. What is up, everybody, and welcome. Look at that beautiful background. The beautiful background. Hold on. I think that may have made it worse. Not good, guys. This was working right before. We may just have to call it good enough. Hold on one second. We'll try one thing. Also, this playlist is not that great. What city is this? I have no idea, actually. I just got this off of YouTube. Let me, Let me pull up my filters real quick and see if I can fix this on the fly. Scuff streamer, I know. It's definitely the light. It's definitely the light that's making things bad. So maybe if I just move the light down. Diffuse it a little bit. And come back here. No? Alright, well let's go for a 95 similarity. It's gonna chroma key out my shirt a little bit, but I'd rather that. What's up, everybody? It's the first episode, it's expected. It's cutting through my shirt a little bit, that's fine. We'll work on this as we move, but this is the PvA weekly rundown, or nightly rundown, not weekly. It used to be the PvA weekly rundown, now it is nightly, over here on twitch.tv/PvA radio. Welcome, everybody. You're the best. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be covering all of the latest gaming news that broke. We're kind of covering over the last weekend here instead of, just over the last day, because there was a lot of really great stuff that was happening. So this is, I'm just going to stop this music, guys. It's not helping anything. All right. So yeah, I come from a gaming news background. I used to do a show called the Player 3 Podcast that was all about gaming news, and we would come each week and we would talk about literally every single story from that week pretty much. And so I always, we do the PvA radio every week now, and that's awesome because we get a chance to talk really in depth about 3 gaming news stories, but it doesn't scratch that itch of covering all of the news that I can. And so I want to connect with the people on the stream that watch, and PvA radio is more of a we talk at you kind of deal. Like, we try to interact with the chat a little bit, but this is a lot more freeform, and so the chat can come by and kind of dictate what we talk about, chime in with their thoughts on a story, with their thoughts on a story we talked about, 3 stories ago, whatever it may be. So it's more of just a discussion. We sit down and we talk. So the main place that this content is going to live is over here on Twitch, twitch.tv/PvA radio. We will be uploading this over to our YouTube channel as well. Just so that if you miss an episode, you can engage with it. But I don't want us to be beholden to the on-demand, right? That's why we do PvA radio the way that we do PvA radio, is because we're a little beholden to the on-demand. We don't want to just constantly interact with chat and have people that aren't a part of the live stream feel like they're out of the loop or anything like that. So this is really about us getting together and talking about the news on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern time over here on twitch.tv/PvA radio. But this is only going to last about 45 minutes to an hour each night, because I also want to play games with my friends, and this is the time that I play games with my friends. So we will chat gaming news for about 45 minutes, and then, like tonight, we're going to hop over. We're going to play some Apex Legends. Later on this week, we're going to play The Division. Probably going to play Dauntless at some point. Of course, I've got to get my Overwatch streams in as well. So this will kind of lead us naturally into the gaming. So. Also, I'm dropping frames like mad too. Let me go ahead and close out of Spotify. Spotify tends to screw everything up on my computer for some reason. So we'll go ahead and X out of that, and we'll X out of Discord. Just because who needs Discord when it's just me, right? And I think we'll probably stabilize. I'm also uploading all of my scenes to the cloud, and I can probably that should probably be done here soon. So, all right, guys. Now that I've given you the rundown of what this show is going to be and what hold on, guys. I'm getting everything straight. Now that I've given you the rundown on what this show is going to be like and what to expect, let's actually jump into it with the releases of the week. And by the releases, guys, I'm going to have to get out of this weekly mindset. It is the first episode. It's to be expected, as Popped Off says. But I got to work out these kinks. The releases of the day, because we'll be able to talk each and every day about all of the games that have released. So I'm going to give you the quick rundown. If there's any games that interest you in the chat, and you want to see a trailer for it perhaps, just let me know in the chat and we can pull that up. I've found several games already through the PvA Weekly Rundown that I've rather enjoyed because I'm like, that game sounds interesting. I wonder what that is. So coming out today, these are all available right now. Constructor Plus came out on PC. Monkey Business came out on the Switch. Ancient Story, Gods of Egypt on the PC. Railroad Corporation on the PC, and Deep Diving Simulator on the PC. Apparently Monday is our day for simulators to release. So with Constructor Plus, Railroad Corporation, and Deep Diving Simulator. None of these games sound super interesting to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm interested in all Switch games, so, but I don't know what Monkey Business is. So nothing really I'm looking to see. Don't know if anybody in the chat is looking at more information on any of these. But yeah, so those are all of your games that are releasing today. Let's move on to the news. So I'm pulling the story. I've got my nice little RSS feed, getting all professional. Hold on, I'll just pull up what I got over here. I'm using Feedly. Hopefully I'm not going to, dox myself here. I don't think I will. But yeah, I've got Feedly, and I've got all this stuff loaded into the PvA let's see. All the stuff over here loaded into the PvA Nightly Rundown list, getting stuff from Game Informer, Kotaku, IGN, and so I'll be able to come over here. So you are guaranteed that all of the news that we talk about on this show is the hottest, fresh off the press, gaming news, right? All right. So also you can join our Discord and drop gaming news stories that you think are of interest to you in the channel. Hold on, what's it called? It's called the PvA Rundown stories. So for the PvA Nightly Rundown, you can drop stories in there, and I'll vet them. They'll make their way over into these show notes. Also, if you type in !show notes in the chat, you get a link to the doc here so that you can see this little document that I'm working off of. You can follow along on the show as well. All kinds of cool little tips and tricks for you to get more involved in what we're doing over here. So, all right, guys, let's go to the first item on the list. And guys, this green screen is driving me nuts because it has not been like this in a long, long time. Let's do this. Let's just get the light all up on it. Oh, that's not going to work either, is it? All right, I think that's probably as good as it's going to get for right now. I'll work on that tomorrow. First news story, guys. Let's talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield Nintendo Direct coming on June 5th. This is from Michael McWhirter over on Polygon. It says Nintendo will broadcast a new Nintendo Direct live stream presentation on June 5th, promising all new details on Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, the next generation Pokemon role-playing games coming to Switch. The 15-minute Nintendo Direct will air at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific time on Nintendo's YouTube and Twitch channels. The Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct will give Nintendo dedicated time ahead of E3 2019 to focus on the Switch Pokemon RPGs. The company also has an E3 specific Nintendo Direct presentation planned for June 11th, the day the annual Game Expo officially kicks off. So this is really a really interesting story to me. So we talked a little bit about what to expect at E3 on not our last episode, but our next to last episode of PvA Radio. We kind of pre-ranked the E3 presentations. And I think all of us kind of had Nintendo somewhere in the middle because we all figured that Pokemon Sword and Shield was going to play a huge role in whatever it was that they were presenting. And popped off in the chat. I know that you're a big Nintendo fan. You said you were going to be hyped for the Nintendo E3. I find this interesting that they're trying to get this Pokemon stuff out of the way. So last year, I don't know if anybody remembers, all the way back to last year, E3 2018, the Nintendo Direct for that was the most boring Direct I've ever sat through. Maybe one of the most boring E3 presentations I've ever sat through, because they had some great announcements for a while, and then they decided, oh, we're going to talk about every single little microscopic change that we made to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And some say that to this day, that Direct is still going on. That they are still talking about all those changes. It was so fucking boring, man. And so I thought this year, Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be a big game for them. That's going to be the same thing. We're going to get all of these little minutia details coming out of it, and they're just going to spend entirely too much time on it. Because, look, E3 is not the time to get nitty-gritty with individual fan bases during a presentation. It's the time to keep momentum going, move from one game reveal to the next, to the next, to the next. Ubisoft tends to do this too, right? Where they're like, all right, we're going to announce our game, then we're going to talk about our game. Then we're going to show you gameplay of our game. And then we're going to go out with another trailer for it. And so they end up spending like 15, 20 minutes on a game. The fact that they're moving Pokemon Sword and Shield out of their E3 presentation, we'll probably still get a trailer, just like we will with Mario Maker 2. But the fact that they're moving the bulk of the minutia out in order to make space for announcements makes me a little more excited. Makes me think that I might be eating crow about my pre-ranking as well. Because I think I had Nintendo third behind Microsoft and Ubisoft. But the Polygon article here lists all the games that are slated for this year. Fire Emblem Three Houses, Astral Chain, Animal Crossing for Nintendo Switch, Daemon X Machina, Luigi's Mansion 3, and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. We could get some Metroid news at this E3 event as well. There's a lot of space for some really cool things to be happening during this Direct, and them moving Pokemon Sword and Shield out makes me think they've got some stuff in the works that isn't even on our radar. So, yeah, that's big news. We're getting a lot more E3 news. So now that we've started the show and I can kind of establish a baseline for what to expect, there's a lot of like E3 rumors that are floating out right now. I really don't like to engage very much with E3 rumors, but for two reasons. Number one, we do a prediction show as a part of PvA Radio, and this year actually Popped Off is going to be joining us for that show, and it's going to be on June. Oh my gosh, guys, I just had this date. I just had it. Hold on, pulling it up. It's going to be on June 6th. Yes, June 6th at 9 p.m. So we won't do the PvA Nightly Rundown that day. Instead, we're going to be doing E3 predictions, and we're going to be crowdsourcing some of those E3 predictions and then bringing some of our own to the table as well. So if you want to contribute to that show, you can join our Discord, and we have an E3 predictions channel that you can go and you can drop your predictions in. What the heck? Oh, my headset just turned off because because I don't have music going right now. So, anyway, yeah, you can join our Discord. You can drop them in. So one of the reasons I like to stay away from it is just because I know we're going to do these predictions, and I don't want to bring a bunch of predictions that already have like rumors behind them. But then the second reason is I just really enjoy E3 and the hype that surrounds E3. I really enjoy being like kind of taken back and being surprised. Like I think about the PlayStation presentation a couple years ago when the God of War music started playing. I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get some God of War news. Like, I love getting surprised, and so I don't want like I think there was something that was like, oh man, the entire Xbox presentation apparently leaked, and now take all that with a grain of salt. But I just don't want to look at that because I want to watch Microsoft with fresh eyes and no expectations and get excited for the things that they're announcing, especially when it comes to things like new hardware and what their first party studios are up to. Like, I want to get excited about that stuff. So, I there's a lot of E3 rumors that were flying around this weekend. They're not included here in the PvA Daily Rundown show notes. All right, next item on the list, Bungie is preparing to announce a new era for Destiny. This is from Jasmine Henry over on GameRant.com. It says Destiny 2 developer Bungie has teased plans for a new era for the company in the Destiny series. The developer is now working on Destiny 2 Season of Opulence, but fans should expect some exciting news once this content has been completed. In the new This Week at Bungie column, Destiny 2 community manager David Deij says that once Destiny 2 Season of Opulence has launched and raid belts have been awarded, the company will be, quote, looking deeper into the future, end quote. Deej confirmed that Bungie plans to share more with fans about a new era for the company and for Destiny 2. The community manager doesn't offer any more hints about what this new era may offer, but tells fans to, quote, buckle up and stay tuned. So, I'm a Destiny fan. I stuck with Destiny 1 longer than I stuck with Destiny 2. And not for any particular reason outside of just there's so much more to play right now. And there's other games that like pulled me in, mostly just Overwatch. I talk about all these games I'm excited about playing, and I just end up playing Overwatch. But I know that Destiny 2 followed a similar trajectory to Destiny 1, right? Like really content light when it first came out, then they continually made changes that improved the game over time. I know there's been some recent updates to exotics and a lot of people's favorite exotics that didn't make people too happy, but I think for the most part, Bungie is they're kind of cyclical, right? In the way that they handle post-launch content for their games. It's like, all right, over here, here at the start, we're going to be really cagey. We're not really going to talk about what we're doing. There's going to be a lot of holes in our plan, and we're not going to be super transparent about how we're trying to address them. And then when they get called out for it, they're like, oh gosh, we need to be really transparent and tell our audience exactly what it is that we're trying to do. And then they'll do that for a while. Then they go back into being really cagey. But we've also seen that like Destiny's willing to stick with the game for a couple years for post-content release. And I don't know if right now is the time to start getting people excited about a new era for Destiny. I think it's important that they keep their head down and keep improving the product that they have for the fan base that they have, because I would imagine that a Destiny 3 is probably a couple years off, maybe. Like, does Destiny really want to be the first loot shooter on next-gen consoles? Like, there's an argument to be made that yes, they do, because then you can be the game that gets its hooks in everybody, before the Division gets a chance to come over or anything like that. But I also think that it's just like, think about how hampered Destiny 1 was by the fact that they tried to split the difference between the consoles. We all remember, like, see that mountain over there? You can go to that mountain over there. And how, like, outlandish that claim was when you got to the finished product. And it was because they were like, we're producing for both the Xbox 360 and PS3 and the Xbox One PS4. So I would rather Bungie just kind of go into their cave, into their loot cave, if you will, and say, we're going to take some time to let this stew, let the dust settle around the new console launches, and then have something for you. Like, people are going to be excited about Destiny regardless. And unless there's like cross-character progression between Destiny 2 and Destiny 3, which I just don't see happening, like, I don't necessarily think there's a point in saying like, all right, we're just going to keep pumping out really great content for Destiny 2 for right now until Destiny 3 comes. I think you can take some time, let the Season of Opulence exist, leave a small team to, push small content updates, and then move everybody else over to the Destiny 3 project, but take your time over there. I don't know, man. Like, just this idea that it's a new era. It is a new era for Destiny. They're not going to be a part of Activision anymore. Bungie got out of that relationship and, maintain control over that IP. I think we know that it's a new era, but let's give it time in the oven to cook. get a little more done before we start talking about it now. Like you've got big major content for Destiny 2 yet to come out. And yet we're already talking about Destiny 3 or teasing Destiny 3. I just pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. That's all I'm saying. All right, guys. Next story. Ubisoft apparently leaked an Origin Access style service on their store. This is from Andy Chalk over at PC Gamer. It says a leak out of the Ubisoft store suggests that the publisher may be about to announce a subscription-based service through its digital storefront that could be similar to EA's Origin Access program. As noticed by users on Reset Era, a placeholder for a, quote, Ubisoft Pass Premium, end quote, recently appeared on the store before being quickly yoinked away. Interestingly, even after the image was taken down, a Ubisoft subscription category remained available on the store, according to VG247, even though no subscription-based services are currently being offered. That's since been taken down as well. So this is the theory that they delve into, is that Ubisoft, with their library of games, all of the Assassin's Creed, you've got Rainbow Six, you've got both Watch Dogs, you've got For Honor, all of these things, that they're about to release a premium pass where people will be able to pay a monthly subscription fee and have untethered access to their vault of games. I've been thinking that I thought it was insane that Ubisoft wasn't on this train already. Out of all of the major publishers, Ubisoft probably has the second most IP outside of EA to leverage to put into this, and several franchises with massive backlogs to be able to play. And if you can get this to where you can play them backwards compatible as well, and start getting all of the, Rainbow Six Vegas, and you can get all the old Ghost Recon games in this thing as well, like, why would you not want to do this? And maybe it was one of those, like, let's let EA pave the road, but that's been years at this point. So to me, this is just one of those, like, well, duh, it makes sense. Of course you want to jump on this bandwagon. Like, the market today is not have people spend $60 on your game and then you're good. The market today is how do we set ourselves up in auto draft on people's accounts? How do we get them to have their subscriptions roll over? And how do we just keep people engaged with our properties? And also, then you just have like a built-in install base when you release a new game, because people are like, I'm this way with EA Access, right? You get 10 hours early access for all new releases. Like, oh, it's 10 hours, it's free. Why don't I try, Battlefield 5? So you get like a built-in install base to be able to bolster your numbers, especially with a lot of these online-centric games that they're pushing. So it makes sense. I fully expect to see something like this being announced at their E3. And it's something that I think I would likely be on board for, just because of the complete and total bevy of games that they have at their disposal to put into this backlog. So, all right. Next, there are new Death Stranding details that are being teased for this week. This is from Jordan Helm over at Hardcore Gamer. It says, with Sony keeping their distance from E3 this year, sticking by the looks of things to brief snippets of new information via their own live stream styled state of play broadcast over the course of 2019. It was implied that their key players, namely their PS4 exclusives, would have little to share, or at the very least may get their own standalone announcement away from the hustle and bustle of LA this coming June. And it looks like Kojima Productions are setting something up to be revealed later this week in relation to their highly anticipated, but still heavily vague title, Death Stranding. So let me actually pull up Kojima's Twitter and take a sip of this nice, delicious bubbly that gets chroma keyed out. Watermelon flavored, by the way. Let's see. Kojima. I meant to link to this. So they tweeted out this little teaser right here. Help us reconnect. Oh, actually, this one was later this afternoon. This isn't the original one, even. So, again, being super vague, I'm sure that there's people that have gone frame by frame into what's showing up between these hands and all this stuff. The one yesterday said, be the rope, maybe? What did it say? Here it is. Oh, no, this is help us reconnect. Create the rope was yesterday's. So, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have never been less interested in a game that I know I want to play than I have with all of this Death Stranding stuff, right? Oh, and I think I've talked about this to exhaustion on PvA Radio, but I am so tired of just this complete and total vagueness and mystery that's been revolving around Kojima since he came over uh, to create a Sony exclusive game. And I am just of the mind that an unchained Kojima could be really awesome, but it has just as much potential to be really bad and really hard to keep up with. The Metal Gear Solid franchise, who he was, beholden to a lot of different people and held accountable by a lot of different people, still has like its tendrils that don't make a lot of sense to people. Kojima totally untethered and making his own thing, like, I don't know, man. And I'm interested in playing it, not necessarily because I find myself just fascinated by whatever it is that Kojima's making, but it's the one game that's coming out where I'm not going to trust a single person's opinion about it, except my own. Because there's been such a bubble created around Kojima and who Kojima is, that it's just like everybody's going in with their presuppositions about what this game is supposed to be like. It's either going to be the next freaking like art house amazing revolutionary thing, and I just think that the only way I can really get a true sense of what the game is and how I should be talking about it and thinking about it is if I play it myself. So look, I trust I trust people to make their own judgments about that game, and a lot of times I'm content to just read people's reaction on it or listen to my friends who have played it. But with Kojima, it's just I gotta experience it for myself. So more information is supposed to be coming out about that later this week. Another trailer, possibly maybe some release information, maybe because there's also been some rumors swirling around that game's gonna release in 2019. I don't know how. I don't know if Konami was really that much of a bottleneck and like put that many constraints on Kojima that's why the development time for his games were constantly huge. But I mean, just a few years ago, Kojima didn't even have computers. There were a bunch of articles getting written about this game before Kojima even had computers at his studio. And now there's rumors that it may be coming out this year. That's wild to me, man. Totally wild. But we'll see. We'll see later this week, and we'll talk about it over here on the PvA Nightly Rundown for all the hottest gaming news. Next story on the list. Apex Legends revenue is down 74% over the last 2 months. It says Apex Legends has dropped out of the this is from Samuel Horty over at PC Gamer. It says Apex Legends has dropped out of the top 10 highest grossing games on PC for the first time since its launch, according to Nielsen-owned market research firm Superdata. The game generated $24 million in April, Superdata said in its latest monthly report, thanks to Eurogamer, which marks a 74% drop since February, the shooter's launch month. The stat covers both PC and console. Huge, dude. 74%. Massive. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm so torn about the success of Apex Legends, right? So I like Apex as a game. I like it as a concept. And I also love Respawn's approach to not dumping a bunch of development onto their team's plates and causing crunch, like the stories about Epic coming out and them referring to their contractors as bodies and stuff like that, and just the overwork people have to do for that game to just be constantly and regularly updated is not what I want to see companies do. But I feel like Apex Legends has been so content light since its release. that it's been hard for people to justify sticking with it. You had the very like subpar season pass, but there's so much in this game that can be iterated upon and built upon that can draw an audience back in. You know, their map has a name, and so it's clear that they not clear, but they likely have other maps in the work for this game. They've added new characters, and we've seen leaks about other characters that are yet to be announced. So like, there's content to be pushed out. But in today's world, like, you can't let your game sit around for 2 months without any kind of major content update and expect to retain an audience, right? Let's go look at Twitch and see how many people are right now are watching Apex Legends. We like to do this. So, you know, when it came out, Apex Legends was number 1, 2, 3 overall. But right now, it looks like there's 15,000 people watching it. And let's switch over here. Yeah, so it's on the second row of my screen here, 15.1 thousand viewers that are watching Apex Legends. And so, look, still amazing numbers, right? Still great numbers as far as engagement is going. But a 74% decrease in revenue is insane. Insane. Especially when you consider that the first few months of this game, it was almost completely free. I mean, you could buy the little loot boxes and stuff, but there was no season pass, anything like that. Which that came out in the second month, I think, and so which is probably where the spike in revenue came from. But if you're not regularly I mean, look at Fortnite right here. Fortnite has a little graphic for their new event where they paired with the Jordan brand, and that's what they're doing, right? They're adding new content, not only for people to come and spend their money on, but just for people to write about and to talk about. I feel like the coverage for Apex Legends on GameSpot and all of the gaming news sites has dropped off significantly as well. And it's because Fortnite, they have like their weekly challenges, right? And so outlets are incentivized to go and write guides for those, whereas Apex doesn't have as much of that sort of stuff. I don't know. I think E3 is a big moment for Apex and its longevity. I think not only do they have to announce the things that are coming right now, but I think they also have to paint a really clear roadmap of what players can expect as far as content drops. But I also don't want them to sacrifice. You know, it's one of those you want to have your cake and eat it too, which is a stupid expression, by the way, right? Like, who the hell wants to have their cake and not eat it, right? Yeah, PUBG had the same huge decline until they figured out, like, how can we monetize what we're doing here? How can we better monetize? And look, it's still not getting the revenue that it could have had they had that figured out a lot earlier. But PUBG is definitely like found a base. It's found an audience. PUBG right now is on the first row with almost 20,000 people watching. What is Zera Survival? That game looks badass. Anyway, EA Play is going to be a big moment for Apex. I think we're going to see a few things. And just to spoil maybe some of the stuff I'll be predicting during our show, but I think we're going to see mobile Apex Legends for mobile get announced. I think we're going to see a new map, and I think we're going to see at least 2 new characters and details about the next season. I think they're going to go big with Apex Legends. But yeah, 74% is huge. Huge revenue loss, especially for a company like EA, who expects every single one of their games to pull $400 billion at all times. Next story. I'm not going to spend too much time here. Nate Nanzer is leaving the Overwatch League to take a position with Epic. If you want to hear my thoughts on this, go check out Project Esports on podcast services everywhere tomorrow morning. We had a pretty long discussion about Nate Nanzer, but essentially he announced on Twitter last Friday, this is the commissioner of the Overwatch League. He announced that he's taking a position at Epic Games to be over their esports division. Yeah, Poggy, that's us. That's right, man. Bill For Real is one of the co-hosts of that show. They graciously invited me on, and luckily there was just news about the league that I know, the bare minimum about, the Overwatch League. So, no, it was a good time. We had a great discussion, but just to put my thoughts like in a real abbreviated sense, and then if you want my full thoughts, you can go check out the podcast. I think it makes sense from a personal standpoint for Nate Nanzer to do this. I think it speaks of the nature of the esports and how people inside of it are viewing it, that they need to go and they need to get what's theirs now, because I think things are kind of inflating faster than are actually sustainable. And so, so Nate moving to Epic when they have, Fortnite and then Rocket League coming on, and Rocket League is something I see a huge potential in from an esports perspective, because it's already tapped into some of it a little bit. But I think he can take it to the next level. Like, the decision makes sense. I think this also doesn't bode well for the Overwatch League and some of the initiatives that they have moving forward, and some of the sponsorship deals as well. But yeah, go check out Project Esports. You can hear my full thoughts on all of that. All right. Next item on the list. The next Call of Duty is going to be called Modern Warfare. This is from Jason Schreier over at Kotaku. It says, the first Modern Warfare... All right, just bear with me, guys, because this is wordy. And it's a lot of the same words. The first Modern Warfare was called Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, so it's only natural that the fourth Modern Warfare is called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Confused yet? That's video games for you. News of this year's strangely named Call of Duty leaked out via YouTuber Long Sensation this morning. Activision has been showing the game to press and influencers for a week or two now, so a leak like this was inevitable. Kotaku has not seen the game has not seen the game or agreed to any embargo, but we've heard from many sources connected to the Call of Duty world that it is indeed called Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and that it's a soft reboot of the first one developed by Infinity Ward for release this fall. It'll be heavy on troubling, realistic, emotional moments, very much inspired by the controversial No Russian campaign in Modern Warfare 2 that allowed the player to gun down civilians. All right, a lot to unpack here, guys. Buckle up. What time is it, by the way? 9:37. Very interesting. If someone had a punny name for it, yeah. So let's just talk about for one moment here how much of freaking cowards they are over at Activision, over at Infinity Ward, because they missed the opportunity to name this game what everybody knows it should be named. I was hoping it would be loaded before I got there to the end of that sentence. Guys, this is what the box art should have looked like. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare. They really missed the chance here. This is what the gaming world needs. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I spent an hour and a half making this cover yesterday, and I got 1 retweet and 3 likes. Come on, man. I'll tell you what, though. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is a better name than Call of Duty Modern Warfare for this game, though. So, first of all, I'm not a big fan of recycling names, with the one caveat being I hope that the next Xbox is just called Xbox. Because it's going to be a streaming platform. The power of the box in and of itself isn't going to really matter all that much. So, just call it the Xbox, have it be its thing. But I'm doubly not okay with this because we just had the Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare remaster come out not even 2 years ago. And so you run the risk of just some brand confusion here, right? Like, and not that I think anybody's going to get the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare mixed up with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, but you're thinking about just from like a search perspective, you're thinking about, in a historical conversation perspective where it's like, well, Modern Warfare is one of the greatest first-person shooters to ever come out. Well, are you talking about Call of Duty 4? Or are you talking about the soft reboot of Modern Warfare? Like, I don't know what you call it if it's supposed to be a soft reboot. 4 doesn't make sense either, right? So maybe this is just the thing that makes the most sense because they're like, we have the brand equity behind Modern Warfare and we want to take advantage of that rather than create something that's like a play on that. We want to just lean really heavily into it. And, they're banking on the nostalgia feel of it, which is a huge play anymore, where people are like, well, I remember Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Let me give that a try. But I also like, outside of the naming, right? The naming is its own thing, and I think it's weird and confusing, and I think they could have done better, but what do you expect? This idea that it's going to focus on like gritty, realistic, emotional, next to like the No Russian campaign, I'm like, is Call of Duty really the developer that's like, is Infinity Ward really the developer that's able to do that now? Like, is the Call of Duty franchise really the space to be trying to tell those stories? Now, look, I'm really interested in whatever that means. Whether or not they can accomplish it, given that Call of Duty tends to be just like this bro shooter, right? Like, I just, I don't know. I'm super interested to see how that pans out. Uh, because, like, even Call of Duty World War II, right? Which was not Infinity Ward, that was Sledgehammer. But World War II is such a great backdrop to be able to tell a really interesting story off of. And I feel like they really failed. They didn't really do a great job with the story of that game and didn't really take advantage as much as they could have of the uh of the setting. And so I just don't know who if that's what a Call of Duty franchise is anymore. If it was that even to begin with. I mean, I feel like No Russian even was a little more just shock theater than it was actual storytelling device. I think it was more put in the game because people, they wanted people to write articles and debate on whether or not people should be able to shoot civilians in an airport. I don't think it was necessarily trying to say anything. So are we going for dark and gritty and realistic for the sake of just like the spectacle of it? Or is Call of Duty really going to have to try to have something to say about war? And I really don't see either of those paths panning out very well. All right. Next item. There will be no new PSVR coming alongside the PS5. Let me just pull the news story up just so I can tell you who this is from. This is from Cyril Vasquez over at Game Informer. But here's the quote from Global Head of Research and Development Dominic Mallinson. He told this to CNET, quote, "There's no reason for us to coincide it with a new console. From the point of view of the consumer, to be bombarded with many, many things, oh, you have to buy this, you have to buy this, is a message that we don't want to send. In some ways, it's good to have a little breathing space between those things," end quote. And guys, this makes entirely too much sense, right? Like, I never believed these rumors that, a new PSVR is going to launch alongside the PS5, because you're going to be asking people to shell out $400, $500 for the new console, and then you want them to also turn around and spend another $400, $500 on a PSVR headset? Like, you want to give these things the space, not just so that the consumers don't feel like you're asking them to spend $1 billion, but also because you want the thing you're releasing to be successful. And the way to make it successful is to give it space off of the other expensive thing that you're asking people to buy. And so I never bought into this hype that there was a new PSVR that was coming. These quotes confirm the reasoning behind why I don't think a new PSVR is coming. And so there you have it, folks. No new PSVR coming alongside the PS5. I do think we'll probably see a new PSVR within a couple years after. So maybe like 2022. Kind of see where that space goes. I feel like there's been a lot of big leaps that have been made as far as like wireless connectivity and computing power and some of just the straight up like hardware comfort and ergonomics behind it, that I think there's a lot of room for PlayStation to iterate. And I think just going ahead and jumping out now, not only because of your new hardware, but because of all of the different versions of VR that are available to people now, like, I don't think it makes sense. Give it a couple years, give it the space, and then let people come on and get excited about something that seems a little more revolutionary than just, it's somewhere on the scale between the Oculus and the Vive stuff that's coming out. So, all right, last item on the list. I'm kind of hurrying up here. I'm figuring out the timing of the show. I told my friends we'd be playing Apex at 9:45, so we have a minute left here. So let's talk about this one real quick, and this is a really quick hitter story, guys. This Fortnite special edition Xbox One looks fucking awesome because it's purple. I love purple. I'm not a huge Fortnite fan, but I hope that they at least release this controller as a standalone item that you'll be able to purchase. This was a leak image. When Future reports that Microsoft will release a purple edition of the Xbox One S. I'm not in the market for new hardware right now, especially with the new stuff that's coming out, but I just thought this was badass. this two-tone purple, that awesome purple controller. Like, I'm just a big fan of purple. So if somebody wants to give this to me as a bit like to have as a living room unit, I'm down. I'll send you the PayPal link. So, all right, guys, there you have it. Like I said, we're still figuring out the timing. I think a lot of days aren't going to be quite as packed with news, just because we're covering the last 3 days. So maybe it'll be like Monday show's a little bit longer. But if you missed this, we're going to be pushing this out on youtube.com/PVA radio as well. And if we get enough interest behind it, we may start releasing it on our podcast feed too. So, but I want to give it a little bit more time to kind of figure out the rhythm of it. You know, things are kind of sloppy, but we're going to hop over onto Apex now.